Hello and welcome to the Circularists, and I am delighted to be joined by Elin Bergman, who is the circular economy queen of Sweden. Welcome, Elin. So with that introduction, I'm going to hand you the floor to tell us best what you do, why you do it, and what your vision is.
Thank you. Well, I am the COO of a business network called Cradlenet. It's all about trying to accelerate the transition to a circular economy in Sweden, mostly, but also the Nordics and the world. We're one of the oldest circular economy organizations on the planet, as far as I've known. We started already in 2009, and the whole thing we do is try to not only talk to business, talk to the public, but also talk to politicians about what circular economy is and why it's so important. And I also am the co-founder and managing partner of another organization called the Nordic Circular Hotspot that I was part of started in 2018. And it's also about transitioning into a circular economy and make sure we accelerate, but also work much more over the country borders and collaborate much more than we did before the organization started, and also kind of showcase the good examples of what's happening in the Nordics.
Wonderful, thank you for that. So all eyes are on the circular economy right now. What is the circular economy and how do we get there? It's a big question, I know.
Economy we have currently, which is a linear economy, and that is an economy where we take things, fossil fuels and materials out of the ground. We make things really fast with really bad quality to make sure they break fast so we can consume more, and then we throw the broken things away, and then we extract more things out of the ground like there's no tomorrow, and then we kind of keep doing that until we're kind of drowning in garbage, and we also run out of the precious resources we need. So that's not a sustainable economy. So the circular economy is something that everything was 100 years ago. There was no waste. Waste is just resources in the wrong place. And valuable resources in the wrong place. So the circular economy is about how we can keep the resources we already extracted at such a high value as possible for as long as possible. So it's not about like consuming things fast, but actually make sure things last. We design it to be repaired and upgraded, and once you're tired of it, you can sell it on the secondhand market and so on. Everything is made of renewable energy, and that makes it's not only good for business, it makes new business models, it also saves the planet and resources, and it's all good.
So Elin, I was really interested and fascinated to read on your bio that you're a sailor and that you sailed to the Caribbean in your yacht with your daughter and your husband. Is that right?
Or my son, yeah.
Oh, your sons, I'm sorry. Yes. So can you tell us about that? Is this a passion you've had for a long time, sailing?
Yeah, that's actually why I got into circular economy, because I am a big fan of Ellen MacArthur before she was famous for circular economy. And I saw her in a lecture 2013, and she was invited to Sweden by Cradlenet. So that's how I also get involved with Cradlenet. I was like, I saw the lecture and I just wanted to hear about her sailing, and she used the boat as a likeness of the planet. Like, if we don't take care of the precious resources we have on the boat, which means water, energy, food, I wouldn't have made it around the world single-handedly as a sailor and made the world record. And I was like so amazed that it did so much talk to me. So that's how I got engaged with Cradlenet. After that, I got into the board, and the year after I became the chairman of the board and so on. But sailing has been a big passion for me in my entire life. But I started sailing myself when I was 25, got the captain's license and everything. And then it was 2016, we took off from Sweden. Me, my ex, and his son, so it's not exactly my bonus son, but Dante, and he was only 5 at the time, and when he came home he was 6, so we had to do it before he started school.
My goodness. And how did he fare on the yacht? Did he love it? Were there any issues?
No, he was really good. Actually, we had kind of like a logistics challenges, so to speak, because we could only have him from his mother like 6-7 weeks at a time, so we had to like give him back and so on. So people came with him from Sweden to sail with us, and then they brought him back. So that's kind of how we did it. But he wouldn't go with us over the Atlantic because we didn't want to torture him. He wasn't that big of a sailor fan.
Okay.
He loved the island jumping in the Caribbean, though. And I think I taught him how to swim like 4 times, like, because he forgot every time he came back. He was like, "No, I never learned how to swim." So I had to teach him over and over. But it was a beautiful experience in many ways. And also, I mean, just sailing over the Atlantic, it took 21 days going there. And you could see plastic floating, past the boat every single day.
I was just about to ask you if you saw plastic.
And since I'm into circular economy, I took all the packaging we had, and I separated everything, and plastic in one bag, and so on, and then we came to the first island, Barbados. We were going to throw away all the garbage and recycle it. It was like, no, you just have to throw everything in the same dumpster, and it was like, oh no. Wow. So we were so happy when it came to the French islands because they had recycling, and it was like, I know I'm going to save all my garbage to the French islands and recycle there.
So you were sailing across the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and you saw plastic wafting past you in that beautiful serenity. So you saw plastic wafting past you every day?
Yes, correct.
Did that break your heart?
Yes, it's horrible.
Wow. I imagined plastics to be a problem on the shoreline, and maybe a few miles out, but in the middle of the Atlantic. So we're in deep trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, it's every time I went to an island, there was always, like, on the beaches, plastic washed up, and I was always, walking around gathering things to try to, make everything look better from before I came. And this is a big struggle because some of the politicians, especially on an EU level, have understood this, and they have made a circular economy action plan, or actually several, and they are making fantastic legislation on a European level to make sure we're transitioning to circular economy. But on the other hand, when it comes to the countries in Europe, when it comes to politicians, they are acting, many of them, in the opposite direction. They don't know about this. They don't really act on the circular economy plan as they should be. And they don't really do all the actions that needs to be done in order to make the shifts happen. But then we have the business sector, and they are moving so fast right now. They don't even have time to wait for the politicians, who are super slow in making good legislation and so on. So it's strange parallel worlds going on right now. We have the EU, fantastic, really changing the planet. We have the EU taxonomy where you have to report on circular economy. We have the CSRD, another reporting system. We basically will include all the businesses, not only in Europe, but also the ones that are importing or exporting to Europe, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds as if you place your bets and your faith in the business sector to change from the inside. Do you think disruption will come from new pilots on the fringes of our linear economy that will grow and overtake and replace and draw away consumers from the linear system? Or do you see change springing out from within the problematic industries?
Well, both, I have to say. I mean, I don't think I only say that it's going to, change is going to come from the business within, because it's also what's happening on the European level is spurring the business and make change happen. So that's really good. But when it comes to if it's the fringes or not, I think in some sectors, it's in the fringes, or actually in startup sectors, that will disrupt. And you can see that already happening in finance, for instance, because the banks and the conservative or the ongoing financial institutions, so to speak, they have a hard time changing when it comes to, like, how can we finance circular business models, because they're all built on how to finance linear business models. It takes a long time to kind of change their way of doing things.
Right. Perfect summary. So Elin, as you're speaking there, I see the job in hand from two perspectives. One, internally, how we think our value systems and how we're going to instigate change. And then the second is how we're going to actually change the manufacturing systems that exist. Now, you're talking to politicians and business leaders. Could you Could you approach those two perspectives and tell me which are having impact and how? So the value system and the actual manufacturing system, where do they collide?
Yes. So first of all, I mean, I need to say that, I mean, we have a climate crisis going on right now, and we are working a lot in all parts of the planet and try to, you know, lower the carbon emissions. But mostly we're focusing on the energy system. If we just change to renewable energy, we think we're all good. But we don't really understand that between 45 and 70% of the carbon emissions is coming from how we produce and how we consume things. So you're absolutely right. We need to change that system first. So then we have startups that like my member Lisa End, for instance. They are a company that are now financing circular business models much faster than the banks can. So they are kind of disrupting the market, and then I think there's plenty of these examples when the businesses and sectors are too slow for change.
Do you know? So we do have an issue in that there are certain big businesses that are compiling and putting out frameworks and standards that are not withstanding a good tire kicking at best, and at worst can be seen as a sinister attempt to actually greenwash and enable the underlying linear system to continue. So this is one of the problems I see with the problematic existing linear economy businesses taking the lead with this. Now, there are some genuine efforts, but there are some quite sinister greenwashing attempts as they're viewed, I think, by the savvy public. Which is why I asked the question, is genuine disruption going to come from within or without? It's the waters are muddied. Would you agree? The waters are muddied and we need
to... Yeah, they have been, I have to say. But now, again, fantastic legislation is coming out from the European Union, which means there's a Green Claims Directive coming out, which means that you can say things that are not science-based. Yes. So, for instance, like if you say, oh, I'm climate positive. No, you're not. You will always have a negative climate impact. You're probably not making as much bad impact as the rest of you, which is good, but you can't say that you're not positive or have zero emissions, because that's not true. So I think whatever we're seeing now, which is greenwash or circular washing, will be kind of phased out, because they will get punished otherwise. That's another beautiful part of the European Union that I really like right now. They're kind of rooting out all the bad things and make sure you can't have the old system where we were greenwashing before.
Which is the sort of progress we need to see, right? We need that desperately. So, okay, so we've identified that governments are moving too slowly. I think they are hamstrung by short-termism, because they only really think about the immediate job in hand for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Whereas businesses can think 100 years out in terms of what we're building that will endure and that will really take humanity into its future self. Can you tell us of any other initiatives and projects that you're working on that would inspire circular economy enthusiasts as to what else is going on out there?
Yeah, we just did this fantastic project. It was also EU funded about product-as-a-service business models, because that's been kind of showcased as one of the best business models in the circular economy that would solve all the problems. But we could see a lot of my members in cradlenet, for instance, that tried these business models and failed. So I talked to the CEO of Stena Circular Consulting a few years back and talked about this, like, why isn't it working sometimes, and why is it working so well other times? So we did this project, a 2-year project we just concluded, where we looked at, why is it succeeding when it's succeeding, and why is it not succeeding, when it's not, and come up with 9 challenges that people and companies actually need to know about. And we didn't just want to do a report, but we wanted to do something like concrete. So, I mean, yeah, reports are good, but people don't have time to read them. But if you want to try this out, we developed a methodology, step-by-step methodology. Like, if you want to try this is what you should do, and this is what you shouldn't do. So if you want to read the report, if you want to try this business, or a methodology, you could just go into our website and you can find it. So you don't have to go through the same mistakes as other have been doing. And I think that's Yeah.
We'll have to grab the URL of that to put in our
Sure.
the write-up. Fantastic. And could you just give me the name of that again? Those guidelines.
It's product as a service, business models, 9 critical challenges and how to address them.
Perfect. Cool. Okay, so did you talk to us about your long-term vision?
No, I haven't got around to that yet. Well, my long-term vision, I think one of the things that we should talk about more is like, what are we striving for? What's the end goal here?
Right.
I mean, I think the most people don't want to live in a polluted, desert, apocalypse planet or future.
Right.
And of course, the circular economy is about like, how can we make sure we don't end up in that apocalypse? And I mean, I don't think there's a politician that wants to see the apocalypse, but I think that the roads how to get us there to this beautiful, sustainable future is very different. We say, like, if you transition to a circular economy, I think, I mean, many of the sustainability visions is like, you have to stop doing a lot of things, you have to kind of almost move into a cave and not have a life. And I think that's the beautiful thing about circular economy. You can do a lot of things, but you don't have to own a lot of stuff, because now the stuff we have owns you, kind of. You have basements and attics just full of things that we don't even know. I mean, the general American, I heard, have 300,000 things in their houses. And the general European is like 30,000, but it's still 30,000 stuff. What do we have? So it creates a lot of anxiety, and I think if you talk about the things that we already have that are circular, that people don't really think about, is Spotify and Netflix, for instance. Nobody wants to go back to where we went to a video store and rented, DVDs, or we bought them and we had the like shelves at home with plastic things, and you could see the same movie over and over. Now we have fantastic digital solutions that makes our life better in many places. Not super good maybe, but I mean, a lot of people would say that they really love that they could have movies and music, all the music in the world in your phones. Amazing. So if we look at the circular economy, it's like there's going to be so many fantastic digital solutions and sharing solutions where we kind of approach the future from what needs we actually need to cover, instead of how much do we need to own. Like, do I really need to own a car? No, I need to transport myself from point A to point B, and that could be a lot of different things of transporting myself. It could be I could walk, I can bike, I could take a bus, I can or take a Uber, or drive a rental car.
I want to jump in there. I want to just jump in there. So you touched on something there that suggests that you see digitalization as an enabler or a facilitator in reducing the sort of burden of stuff that we're carrying, and that the Internet of Things perhaps would be tagged onto that idea. Would that be fair to say? Yes.
Okay. Yeah, totally correct. And I mean, and that also means that we need to have a sustainable digitalization sector. I mean, a digital sector that actually runs on renewable energy, and also included in the circular system.
Right.
We need to have energy systems and technologies and communication systems that actually are super smart, resource efficient, and enables the rest of the material circular economy. Yes. So you're absolutely right. And I think you need to also, I mean, the future that I see it is like, we're going to live in cities. They're going to be super connected. Not everybody is going to live in cities, of course, but the ones that do live in cities are going to have much more ecosystem cities, where we keep the old buildings, but we greenify them. We make them to circular systems where we circulate the water. We produce our own energy and even food. We have green surfaces, and make sure that we have a lot of trees that kind of shelter us from the heat in the summer, and make sure we have good, I mean, good climates everywhere.
I'd like to return to Sweden for a moment.
Sure.
To ask you about the startup world and what the Swedish government are doing to facilitate green shoots of new circular types of businesses that are breaking old molds. What's happening on the ground there?
Yeah, we have had a fantastic government or governments that have been very supportive when it comes to startups, and I mean they still are in some ways. We have something called Klimatpakten. No, it's not Klimatklivet. Sorry, Swedish. It's basically the climate steps which they fund. So you can, if you start a company, you can get funding to try new different things that are also either climate friendly or circular, which is good. But it's very, very small amount of money. It's not like it's going to be make a big difference, but yeah, it's good. It's good that they're supporting. But we have a problem in Sweden that there's so many investors and things for startups, but then when it comes to scaling up the companies, they usually go abroad because there's no scale up money in Sweden. So
Okay,
that's the
right.
problem. We call it the valley of death. Kind of either you have to move abroad or you have to.
We've seen that in the UK, maybe to a lesser extent, but we have seen the same sort of trend. On another note, are you friends with Greta Thunberg?
I actually went to a party with her a few weeks ago. I wouldn't say I'm a friend. I love her. I think she's amazing, and I've been to many of her protests and demonstrations. And I think like two of my friends were the first ones to ever like post about her on social media. So I've been following her from the absolute start.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
And do you collaborate in any sense? Do you work together, or do you sort of co-vision together in any sense?
No, I'd never even been in a meeting with her. I just been to a party. It was a Greenpeace party I went to with her. I have some videos if you want to see. But no, I think she's amazing, and I think she's doing. I mean, she's fantastic and done so much good. And I would love to work with her. I invited her to many of my events. So far, she haven't showed up. But
well, hopefully that will change.
Yeah,
maybe I can get her on the Circularists.
I'm so interested to see what she's going to do next, actually, because I mean, she's doing the climate strike for forever now, and she's not in school anymore. I mean, she's probably at university or something. But I think she should do something new and fresh.
Yes, do you know, that brings me to another idea, a thought. You know, we've been talking for a long time, and valuable people, including Greta Thunberg and a host of others, have raised the alarm to the point where there's now broad awareness of the danger that we're in. And I had a conversation with some of my cohort and colleagues and friends recently, and we all had this sense, we've raised the alarm, it's time to build. You know, to build the systems, to build the new tomorrow that we're all talking about. We've identified what we need, we've scoped it almost, time to build. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's where
you sound like me? I've been saying this forever. Okay, because usually everybody talks about, oh, we need new innovations. It's like we have all the innovations we need. We need to implement. I mean, we need to make sure because I mean, right now it's like strange. We're living in, like I said, parallel worlds. Like, okay, we have the roadmaps and the action plans. It's just not happening. I mean, in some countries, like Finland, for instance, they have like a roadmap and plan for the whole education system. Every single municipality have their own roadmaps or changed. They're getting it done. In Sweden, it's like, yeah, we're going to be circular. I mean, there's some initiatives in the construction sector. I mean, there are things happening, but it's so small changes, and it's not like in a massive scale that we really need. We need to have the mission, you know, this century. I mean, this decade. I mean, and it's like we haven't even started yet. We're still, you know, the carbon emissions are still going up.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's so good to hear you validate that. We should talk some more, maybe have you on again so that we can talk about progress that's being made, because it is time to build now. So let's keep making some noise. And I'm so glad that you've come on the interview and you know, we've been able to voice some of this. So we're ready to build. It's time, action. I wonder if the people that have raised the alarms have a certain expertise and skill set, and they've identified, and then the builders are the cohort that we need to now pull into the center to get them going. I don't think the builders and the alarm raisers are the same people.
No, you're absolutely right. But I see some fantastic leadership in Sweden now, in some regions, and it's still very much based on like the people, the enthusiasts, the one person in the municipality or a city who's like, let's do this. and then
Right.
they get everybody to go with them. But it needs strong leadership, and
Yes.
not only for the politicians, but also from the cities. And I mean, everybody needs to get involved,
Right.
and then the builders come. What they're doing in Gothenburg now, the fantastic enthusiast I was talking about, her name is Nina Wolf. She's like the connector that connects everybody, and make together with other fantastic people, of course, also. But you need to find the ones that kind of are the movers and shakers.
Yes.
That connects. And they
Yes.
now made a handshake in the construction sector, sorry, to make sure they kind of sign off on how to build things circular. They even made a project now where they're looking into how can we build 100,000 new homes without building a single new building. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, yes.
How can we make sure the buildings already standing are used for homes if they're not used for offices or warehouses, whatever, instead of building new from scratch?
Fantastic. Elin, it's been amazing talking to you. I feel so inspired and pumped. I hope that we can talk some more and that you can come back and we can have an update on how the building's going.
Good.
So thank you. All the best with your endeavours, and thanks for joining the Circularists.
Thank you so much for having me.